presentation will be about artificial intelligence. Please welcome the head of the International Center for Digital Forensics at St. Petersburg Research Center for the Russian Academy of Science, Andrei Chechulin. We'll be talking about digital forensics, and digital forensics is absolutely amazing with this kind of t-shirt with a rabbit on it. Hi everyone, my name is Andrei. Today we will be talking about artificial intelligence. Many people talk about this, and we've heard many presentations about AI today. I decided to pick 3 movies with the rise of the machines. Movie number 1. The military people decided to control everyone. AI rise, and they basically destroyed everyone. Obviously, that's the Terminator, and the AI was Skynet. That's an old movie, but it's a good one. Why am I talking about this? I use this movie as an example because AI did not rise against the people. At some point, people became afraid of it, decided to plug it off, and then AI run the algorithm. But one of the points of the algorithm was to protect itself. So it started to protect itself from people, and it's much easier to protect the world that has no humans. So it actually solved the problem it was tasked with. There was no rise of the machines. Second movie. Artificial intelligence rose up, people started to fight against it, exploded some nukes. The sky was covered with clouds, no energy, people turned to batteries. You understand, yes, this is Matrix. The same, absolutely the same. Artificial intelligence tries to solve the problem. Turning people to batteries is not good. It's not bad, it's good, because people are safe, people are secure, people do not run anywhere, they produce energy, everything is great, the world is happy. There was no rise of the machines. The AI was solving the problem it was tasked with to provide happy world for everyone. Movie number 3. Well, not exactly a movie, it was an Interstellar Empire. There is Omnius Artificial Intelligence. It's more complex. It's more like TV series for this universe. Do you know what I'm talking about? That's Warhammer 40,000. What happened before Dune? People are waiting for the 3rd movie. And before Dune, they had the rise of the artificial intelligence. And just like the previous movie, just like the previous universe, AI was solving the problem it was tasked for. People do not control their governments in an efficient way. They take inefficient decisions, corruption, problems, nepotism. In general, so much energy is wasted on absolutely useless things. If AI governs everything and takes the most efficient decisions, humanity will flourish. If some genes are edited, people will be better. And this is what AI did. So 3 examples, 3 universes, and everything was for the sake of humans. There was no rise of the machine. Why does this happen? Problem number 1. Giving up the control. And it's really hard to do something because AI is not good enough yet. If a person takes a decision, their efficiency is different. They have limitations. AI shows significant improvement in chess and Go, where they can do better than humans. So if you can pass over the control to AI, which will make our world better, which is good. And that's the competitive edge. Any company that will follow AI advice will take over other companies or other governments that do not follow AI. So if you have AI as part of the government, as part of the company, they will be more efficient. And even now we have inequality, and AI is not being developed in all the countries equally. And the countries which do not develop AI, those countries will lag behind. And that's why in Russia there are so many research activities aimed at developing AI. But the more control we give up, the closer we are to the movies in those through universes. Second is setting the correct problem. What do we want from AI? It's not an animal, it's not a creature. AI does not have to propagate. They have the only task to solve is what they are given to solve. And here's the problem. Suppose you have a very smart artificial intelligence and you ask it to clean your house. It's logical for you. They cleaned it once, twice, and then they want to solve it in the most efficient way. But how do they solve this problem? Well, they prohibit you from doing anything that would soil the inside of your flat. So if they remove you from your apartment, that will be one of the most efficient ways to keep your apartment clean. If they realize that there is a different solution for the problem you set it for. Artificial intelligence does not have any desires to govern, to control, but they have a desire to solve the problem they were tasked with. And if the problem is to kill 100 billion people, well, obviously it can do this. Third problem for all those movie universes, which brought about so-called rise of the machines, is dependency. This is what we have now. Even now, this year, finally, I crossed the bingo. All the reports given to me by students were written by AI. There was not a single one written by students themselves. They all them used AI. And when I ask them to do them themselves, they have serious problems. I had a conversation with my assistant a while ago, and without internet, they're completely doomed. They eat through the internet, they order delivery, they use GPS for navigation, and people are so dependent on the internet, on applications, and this is where we go. We will not be able to avoid this. Previously, we had technology dependency, mobile phone dependency, personal computer dependency, and now we will see AI dependency. And even if you try to do this, to go to the forest and be a hermit, we will be taken over by our competition. So the most efficient companies, governments will be the ones that use AI, and this is the reality. Where we are, it's the state of the art. We are at the stage of passing over the control. Here's the presentation for one of the previous conferences. So many systems, and it was said, well, robots cannot judge people because it has no senses, it has no moral, and it cannot judge. Previously, they went through all the 5 stages of acceptance. First, they declined it point blank, and it was quite often, quite fast. Then they went through all those 5 stages. And we have this in the Russian court practice, where AI is used to go through the initial stages, and then the judge just agrees to what AI proposes, because AI is more efficient at judging people compared to real-life human judges. There were questionnaires with different ages. People who live longer, they said that they do not want to be judged by AI, but younger generation said they believe AI more. You cannot bribe AI, you cannot trick AI, but it's more efficient. This is what younger generation believes. And we are at this level. This is how we use AI. Setting the task, setting the problem. I like this example. That's actually a fake example, as it turned out. But there was a piece of news that in the United States, they developed AI-controlled drones. They launched it, and the operator was in the way. Just to understand how drones could behave under difficult conditions. And drone realized that the main problem was not weather condition, was not wind, was not anything else. It was the operator. And the best way to solve the problem was to kill the operator, and then it would solve the problem. Later, it was said that that was the rise of the machines. Then later it was said that it was hypothetical experiment, but most people believed in that because it's actually very true. It sounds like it might happen in reality. Next point, neural networks lie. One of the main things for neural network is to provide pleasure to users. It does not have to answer your question. It does not have to generate the answer correctly. Its main problem, its main task set by developers is to raise funds, is to showcase technology and to be useful. But not useful in the sense what we asked it, but just to make us happy. And we visited a certain city with my wife, and AI told my wife about an absolutely amazing museum of wallpapers with address, with anything else, with pictures. And it turned out that it did not exist. So AI had no idea what to tell you. So it actually invented a museum which you could go and visit in a city you've never been before. If you ask it to check and double check the material, it might tell you, oh, actually, I made a mistake. So you cannot really trust them. Even now, you cannot trust them. People, but one of the main problems is that people cannot set the problem in a very specific way. AI is like a devil from those older movies. You wish for something, but then it twists your wish and does it in a different way. So a simple request to clean your house might result that you will have no house, or maybe you will have house, but there will be no inhabitants, that you will be removed forcefully from your own apartment. There are many young people here. I assume you use AI. Even if you don't know that you use AI, you actually use AI because you have a smartphone. But almost everybody uses generative AI for diploma, for essays, for different projects. People become dependent on it, and it becomes a problem because people believe AI. But as we can see, AI lies. Now here's the question. Can we trust AI? And the question is, well, to be or not to be, that's basically the question. That's a very philosophical one. On the one hand, so many people work with AI, experienced developers, ethics, specialists. There is an industry in this area, ethical AI, where people do not really understand humans' ethics, and they try to teach AI, I don't know, robotic ethics. They try to add emotions, and maybe if AI loves humanity, it will not destroy it. I'm not sure, that's kind of dubious argument. Why could we trust it? Well, traditionally, when you are running from a polar bear, it doesn't really matter if you run fast or not, you have to run faster than your comrade. And the same applies here. When you ask someone, it doesn't really matter if it was correct or not, it was faster and cheaper than another person, than another expert. So you might trust it more than somebody else. But why we shouldn't do this? There is no moral responsibility, and you have no idea what's the fundamentals here. One of the bigger problems with automatic machines, automatic cars, and it doesn't really matter if they can or cannot be controlled and go around the streets controlled by AI. They have better accuracy. They can drive around. They are safe, but the problem with ethics and consequences. If AI car, far be it from us, but if it has an accident and kills a human, who is responsible for this accident? is that developer who are responsible for that are manufacturers or someone else. Those are different stories, and they have to analyze which way to go. Does it kill 5 people, or does it fall down the cliff and kill 1 person? That's a famous philosophical question. But the question here is trick for you. Will you use AI-driven car if you know that it is programmed to kill you if it has to choose between you and 5, 10 other people? So we don't really trust AI because we have no idea what happens inside this electronic brain and how it can damage us. And that's a very philosophical question. Honestly, it doesn't really matter what we answer if we trust it or not. We will use it. We will continue to implement AI. Even if you personally do not use AI, it will be used by the government. It will be used for managerial decisions. It will be used in your devices, websites you use, just for you to see your personalized ads, to have fun, to control you. AI will be used. It's not good, it's not bad, it's a tool. So what does all this depend on? There are big companies that work on AI technologies. Sam Altman from OpenAI, Elon Musk with Grok. All of them said at least once that AI is developing in very big leaps. And currently there is not enough competition, but even they try to make AI at least not to tell us about best ways to commit a suicide or what to do. So AI is limited for these specific topics. Developers want to minimize vulnerabilities as much as possible. There is work to develop AI for controlled AI. So, okay, we cannot control AI, but at least explain what happens there. And that's a big problem because AI is basically a black box. Another point is that it depends on the population. We as people decide where to use it and how to use it. For example, in education. As I said, all my students send AI written text. And honestly, that's not a problem. The problem is not that they use it. The problem is that they use it instead of doing it themselves. When you go to the university, you have to acquire skills. If you use AI, you will learn to use AI, and that's all. If you ask AI to create a report, an essay, I will give you a pass. It doesn't really matter. I don't care. But you will lack knowledge. But the people who used AI to improve their skills, and then you will see the difference. And this is what we will see in the years to come, unless the whole humanity is destroyed. Next, Roskomnadzor, Ministry of Digital Development, and other watchdogs. There are new laws, there are new associations that deal with this safety and security of AI. There are international organizations that send letters of recommendations which are completely ignored. But still there are some limitations for AI so that we do not get destroyed, but actually for the government to use something safe and secure. It's not really good when you ask Grok by Elon Musk everything about your neighbor, and they actually know a lot about your neighbor. You still need to filter all the requests and the results you get there. So this is what the government does, and this is what we should do. First, we need to understand how AI works, at least in general. If somebody wants to enslave you, at least you need to get into the mind of your master. Second, you want to double-check the results of AI. As I said, you cannot trust it. You have to know where AI can be used and how much AI can be around you. what are already taken by AI, where AI is used, and take back the control. So when you use AI as a tool, that's great. But when AI uses you as a tool to get whatever the problem they want to solve, that's not really good. You have to talk to other people about this, and that's exactly what I do. And you should talk to elderly people. You shouldn't coerce or maybe scare people, but we should talk about this. And obviously, to quote Douglas Adams, you shouldn't panic. Panic is bad. If you have any questions, I will be able to answer your questions back there in the corner. Thank you very much. And we have the expert, the head of International Center for Digital Forensics at St. Petersburg Federal Research Institute for Russian Academy of Science, Andrei Chichulin. I remember this classical quote about money, because money is a good slave but a bad master, and the same applies to AI. We should take back our sovereignty, and we should not allow AI to enslave us.